Hello, hello, and welcome to another ohmTown Daily, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. ohmTown.com is a news aggregator that I put together to manage my information overload. Just had a conversation about it today. I hope you find it interesting. Go over to ohmTown.com, sign up, become a citizen, and you get some added functionality once you're a citizen. But everybody, it's open to the public, so go over and check it out. 50 sub-channels, 6 main categories, a whole bunch of news sources that I aggregate a whole bunch of information into those 50 channels. Go check it out. Today is February 27th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 58 of the ohmTown Daily News Show. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown. That is ohmTown.com. I'll never get it right. And the AI isn't here today. So we're going to do a quick rundown, and I'm going to rifle through all 10 of our articles and give you my perspective of it. I haven't read any of the content other than a little snippet, which you'll get to witness when we go through it. Today we're going to be taking a bite out of an asteroid, Apple AR trademark lawsuit, let them eat cereal, Willy Wonka AI ads, Esports company lays off some of its workforce, OpenAI says the New York Times tried to hack them, Wearable sticker for communication, how to read the Dune books, because Dune Part 2 is hitting the movie theaters this week. And, well, I guess I'm not getting an iPhone 16, and the newest CRV is hydrogen and battery powered. Let's get into it on the other side of this. So welcome to the show. Again, I am Mayor Watt, and that is ohmTown.com. So go and check it out. Anyway, the first article. It's over in the reality hacker section. Asteroid that impacted, asteroid impacted by spacecraft is reshaped like an M&M with a bite taken out. In 2022, NASA deliberately crashed a spacecraft into an asteroid to see if we could divert it. And to examine what it might have been made of. Now astronomers have found out that the impact may have reshaped the asteroid significantly. The article is over at digitaltrends.com. You know what? Before I get too far into it, let me throw it into the chat. There you go. And yeah, the bandwidth is really low, it says here. Anyway, I'll keep moving forward. The article's over at digitaltrends.com. Georgina Torbet, or Torbet, depending on if it's Colbert or Colbert, put the article together. In 2022, the world watched with fascination as NASA deliberately crashed a spacecraft into an asteroid to test of what kind of defense option might be available to humanity if an incoming asteroid ever threatened Earth. And it really depends on what the asteroid is made of, because this turned out to be basically a large cluster of debris. If it was a huge metal iron object, then who knows if our little spacecraft would have done anything to it. So the DART, as it's called, or Double Asteroid Redirection Test, was successful in changing the asteroid's orbit. Now we don't know where the heck it's going to come from eventually in the future. No, we know its orbit now, but really, who knows what kind of other ramifications we've had on this thing. The asteroid impacted a asteroid called Dimorphos, very small at around 500 feet across, and the DART spacecraft crashed into it at a tremendous speed of nearly 4 miles per second. It actually was orbiting a larger object, a larger asteroid. And let's see if they... It says this is a computationally intensive process, with each simulation taking around a week and a half to run, and we ran around 250 simulations overall, reproducing the first 2 hours after impact. Yeah, it's interesting. You can run many simulations over the same period of time, because all you have to do is make a copy of the computational formula, whatever the simulation is, and put it in a virtual machine, make hundreds of virtual machines, and you could rerun that computational or parallel it with a whole bunch of other. You could do it on a Raspberry Pi, for crying out loud. Array of Raspberry Pis. Anyway, it says we incorporated all the values we did know, such as the mass of the DART spacecraft, approximate shape of the asteroid, the orbital deflection, and size of the impact plume, etc., etc. But apparently, as a consequence, Hera will probably not be able to find any crater left by DART. What it will discover instead will probably be a different body. Their simulation suggests that Dimorphos has had its initial flying saucer shape blunted on its impact side. If you think of Dimorphos as starting out as resembling a chocolate M&M, now it would have a bite taken out of it. But this is the simulation. It isn't an absolute. So they say the article's title is, I would say, not necessarily. It should say asteroid impacted by spacecraft could be shaped like an M&M with a bite taken out of it. Yeah. Okay, well, let's keep going. The next article is over in Smack Talk. Apple sues U.S. Patent Office over augmented reality trademarks. Apple has again filed a suit against the USPTO office, refusing to allow terms such as reality composer to be trademarked. That's interesting. Why would they do that? I don't know. Let's find out. It's not clear when Apple first filed for trademarks on Reality Composer and Reality Converter, but it launched apps with those names by 2020. According to Reuters, whenever Apple originally filed for trademarks, the filing was challenged by Turkish firm Zero Density. The company is a visual effects one, and its argument is that the terms could cause confusion with its trademark. William Gallagher over at AppleInsider.com put the article together. Let's see. These names in its full court filing, it's like basketball, are made-up terms coined by Apple that do not describe the underlying software development tools on which Apple uses these trademarks. It says Apple's new lawsuit focuses on this latter claim and attempts to refute it. So let's see. Its own reality trademarks, and also that Apple's terms simply describe what the Apple software does. So they are suggestive, just like Burger King is a fast food chain, not an actual monarch, continues Apple. The combination of two incongruous terms into one mark, which together require imagination in order to make sense practically, are hallmarks of a suggestive mark. In contrast, they use examples of Raisin Bran or American Airlines straightforwardly describe the goods. So Zero Density responded by saying that it's surprised and concerned by Apple's misinterpretation and misrepresentation of our company, refusing to resolute in defending our reality trademarks. So I wonder if Zero Density, I'd have to go and look it up, but yeah. So I wonder if the marks by Zero Density are actually something that is in use as Reality Composer and Reality Converter. And if you have something reality and then something after it, I'm sorry, it's not going to be too much confusion. It's just a different name for a similar product, you know. A different name for a piece of software. So the company is a visual effects one, and its argument is that the terms could cause confusion with its own reality trademark. And there is a user here that posted a comment, FlyDog, earlier today, that posted a comment on AppleInsider.com's website that rightly addresses the fact that it isn't a lawsuit against the USPTO. They're basically challenging the fact that the mark is being used by Turkish firm. It's not really a lawsuit, so to speak. They're basically saying that they are challenging the mark, and that Apple is actually the first to use that mark in its commercial enterprise. So Zero Density is trying to defend its mark and trying to prevent dilution of its mark if it is if a mark is granted to Apple, they might think that it's, going to detract from zero density. But yeah, I don't know. This isn't as straightforward as a lawsuit from Apple versus the USPTO. Zero density challenged the trademark, and Apple has a right to respond to that challenge. And it's entirely going through the USPTO. So nobody's really suing the USPTO as far as I can tell. I don't see anything like that. Anyway, it'll be interesting to watch this. I'm into VR and AR, mixed reality, and I've never used Reality Converter or Composer, so it'll be interesting to see what shakes out from this. Let's keep going though. But before I do, let me throw this into the chat. You can always follow the show notes to the source information and come back and talk with Mayor Watt. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Kellogg's faces backlash after encouraging cash-strapped shoppers to eat cereal for dinner. Quote, what the hell kind of dystopian hellscape is this? Apparently somebody said, this is the equivalent, I guess, of let them eat cake. Kellogg's is advertising cereal for dinner as an alternative to people struggling with food prices, but people aren't impressed with WK Kellogg CEO Gary Pilnick's comments. Social media users say cereal is no longer cheap anyway, and liken Pilnick's remarks to let them eat cake. Oh God, they actually said exactly what I said. Huh, that's funny. I didn't read this. I love it when a plan comes together, I suppose. That's pretty funny. Yeah, the first thing that I saw when I read this the first thing that I thought of when I read the title was, very, very entitled, very elitist, let them eat cake. Kellogg's is advertising cereal as an affordable dinner. I can't remember a time as an adult that cereal was cheap. Maybe you can find cheap cereal, but Kellogg's is not. Kellogg's, the brand name cereal, isn't cheap. Not that I know. I mean, yeah, I just don't get it. And honestly, if they would have just said, eat cereal for dinner, then I would buy into it, because I love a good 9 p.m. bowl of cereal sometimes. It's actually pretty filling and it tastes good if you get the right cereal. If you hate your cereal, get different cereal. But for crying out loud, sitting there going, if you're struggling for funds and you can't afford food, eat cereal. I mean, that's pretty elitist kind of douchebaggery. So, you know what? Be pissed off at Kellogg's all you want. I don't think that they're going to really care all that much until you really hit them where it counts, which is in the pocketbook and their stock. You know what? If their stock declines, they're just going to have all of their cash coffers ready to buy back stock and consolidate the wealth into the C-suite and into the stockholders, not the stakeholders, the stockholders. Then they'll lay off 1,000 people and make themselves even more richer while basically hurting all of the employees that made it into the company that it is. It's kind of a lose-lose for the employees in all of this, unless they were invested in the company too. Anyway, the article is actually housed over at Business Insider. Grace Dean is the author. Yeah, I don't know of it. I cannot remember a time when I would look at cereal and go, okay, that's cheap. At least not name brand cereal. Yep. Let's see. Do they say anything else in the article that I can kind of tear apart? Often wrongly attributed to Marie Antoinette during the French Revolution. Yep. Advertising to hungry people that cereal might be good for dinner is not meeting where people it is not meeting people where they are. Author Marianne Williamson wrote on the website formerly known as Twitter. It's exploiting the hungry for financial gain and exposing yourself as a sociopath. Yeah. an entitled rich sociopath. So, and another example of why I say, as you become richer and richer, you move up the ladder of sociopathy until you're completely disconnected and you think that everything you say is brilliant. That's kind of where that person is starting to sound like. But hey, I'm not their doctor, so just my perception. They talk about a bunch of other stuff, but cereal prices shot up 13% in 2022 alone. They actually round up. It says grocery prices soared during the pandemic as supply chain chaos pushed up costs for producers. Except that the prices haven't come down and the supply chain is actually back into order. And supposedly, the supply chain wasn't taking a shit during all of this. The average price of cereal in the US went up 6% in 2021. 2022, it went up 13% and just 0.3% in 2023. That's because all of the value is pulled out of it in the previous 2 years. So it went up in 2 years, 2.5. Well, let's count 2023 entirely, just so that we can get it even closer to 20% in 3 years. But did any one of your salaries go up nearly 20% in 3 years? Yeah, highly doubt it. In December, breakfast cereal comprised about 1.5% of America's average Americans' grocery spending. So, not that much, but when you do buy it, I think that it is pretty damn expensive for what it is. So, no, people aren't out there buying cheap cereal. The cheap version is more expensive than it used to be as well. So if you want to sit there and put an embargo on Kellogg's, then don't eat Frosted Flakes, don't eat Fruit Loops, Corn Flakes, Raisin Bran. But nobody eats Raisin Bran. They say they do, but they actually just eat the bran and leave the raisins floating around at the bottom or rolling around at the bottom of their bowl. Outside of cereal, the company also sells Pop-Tarts, Pringles, and graham crackers. Now, graham crackers is kind of a kid's staple and good periodically. Pringles, I could probably live without forever. But when I do have them, once you pop, you can't stop. And Pop-Tarts themselves seemingly are more expensive and smaller than I remember them. But maybe it's because I'm getting bigger. There's a little bit more over at this article, so follow the link and you'll... where is that quote? No, I won't go back into it. Anyway, go over to Business Insider and show Grace Dean some attention there. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Cops called to Willy Wonka experience as crying children realize AI ads were lies. Oh, think of the children. AI needs to be brought down because it's making children cry. Police were called to the scene of Willy's chocolate experience in Glasgow, Scotland, as children burst into tears when the immersive experience promised in AI advertisements turned out to be a sparsely decorated warehouse. Brutal. The article's over at Gizmodo. Thomas Germain is the author. Willy Wonka's experiences, AI-fueled promises were pure imagination. You have to sing, pure imagination. Can you imagine if that's what you thought you were getting and that's what you actually got? Look at that. I mean, talk about reality slap. If it didn't look like this, I would want my money back. Unless it was fake. Oh no, it was $45 or 35 pounds. For a ticket. House of Illuminati, the organization behind the event, reportedly charged up to 35 pounds per ticket, or about 45 US dollars, for an afternoon of activities based on the Timothy Chalamet Wonka reboot. The event was promoted with AI renderings full of lollipop forests, jelly bean waterfalls, flying horses, giant mushrooms, and other fantastical larger-than-life scenes, promising, quote, a place where chocolate dreams become reality. So yeah. Oh, you know what? Let's click through some of the slides. Oh, come on. Dun, dun, dun. That's what it was. There's another. How about that? Oh, that's not even a slide. Oh, that's horrible. So that was the entrance. And that is what they ended up with. That's horrible. Absolutely horrible. So the article says disappointed families reported that the whimsical Oompa Loompas turned out to be struggling actors frantically reciting scripts that were handed out the night before the event. Actors reportedly wrote on social media that they were asked to improvise with props that weren't even there when they arrived. Customer Stuart Sinclair wrote on Facebook that it took around 2 minutes through an event that was supposed to provide an hour of entertainment, where the main attraction was people lining up to complain to flustered organizers. Unbelievable. So, according to this, the House of Illuminati reportedly offered 850 customers full refunds and canceled the event just a day in. Why would they put it together if it looked like that? That's horrible. Yeah, so it turned out to be a sparsely decorated warehouse. If this was actually in coordination with Wonka, yeah, there's going to be a reckoning. Maybe the company just kind of didn't follow through with whatever budget they were actually offered. I don't know. Some of this stuff looks like if it was done right with more, it would get a whole lot closer, but it needed a whole lot more. This is just horrible. All right, folks, let's keep on trucking through all of these articles. Oops, let me do that. The next article is over in Warcrafters. The largest esports company in the world is laying off 15% of its workforce. You might be thinking that it's like 1,000 people or something, but no, it's not. Here, let's just go straight on over to the source. Andy Chalk has a deck statement here that says, all in the name of efficiency and profits. It's over at pcgamer.com. Let me throw it in the link through ohmTown into the chat. There you go. Wow. No, that can't be a legit picture. No way. So esports company ESL Faceit Group, I think it's pronounced that way, not sure, announced today that it's laying off roughly 15% of its global workforce in order to support sustainable growth ambitions and profitability. So they're trying to extend their runway. ESL Faceit Group was formed in 2022 after Savvy Gaming Group, a holding company owned by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, purchased esports organizer ESL and tournament platform Faceit for a reported $1.5 billion and then merged them into a single unit. The goal, ESL Faceit Group said in the merger announcement, was to create the ultimate platform for competitive gaming and developers to build a sustainable competitive gaming community in esports ecosystems. All that mergers and acquisitions do is constrain competition. It constrains profit to the rich. It limits competition. It removes options. I understand that sometimes a company's founders and operators go, you know what, we just can't do this. Let's sell to somebody. I get it. I understand why it happens. But every time there is a merger or acquisition, the people are fired, but they've been working their butt off for each of the companies to make the company better. And the reward is basically to get fired, while the people who quote unquote took the risk, which I'm sorry, you go into it knowing that you're taking the risk. I don't know. I have a hard time with mergers and acquisitions because I see it all the time, that on the other side of it is people getting fired after pouring their heart and soul into a business that they thought was going to be as loyal to them as they are to the business. But no, that's usually not how it works. With the industry in constant change, we must adapt, become more efficient, and be more flexible as a team. These moves, along with our efforts to reorient the team on EFGs and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's all equivocating. They're all just saying, no, we really are doing this for purely business, as if that is okay. But it's not. People are still being impacted by it. And I'm sure that all of the people that are running this thing are really sobbing at night. The actual number of people being put out to work was not revealed. So they say that it has somewhere around 900 employees. So it would put the figure at about 135. But yeah, yes, I'll face it. Layoffs come in the days after major cuts from Sony, which announced today 900 people were being let go. This is an article over in ohmTown as well, that it was aggregated there, and I don't know who it links to, but PC Gamer wrote about it as well. And it's just a brutal beginning of 2024, because I think there's something around 2,000 people that have already been fired, maybe more. I just don't know the full number, but I seem to recall something easily hitting 2,000 people. So let's keep going. Maybe. Yeah, we'll get there one of these days. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. OpenAI says New York Times paid someone to hack OpenAI's products in federal court filing. That's not where they hacked it, but that's where they announced it. OpenAI alleged that the New York Times hired someone to hack its platforms. The Times sued OpenAI and Microsoft in December for copyright infringement, and OpenAI also alleges that the Times gamed its platforms to generate deceptive evidence for its case. And I'm more inclined to believe that, regardless, because information is information. It only becomes a problem. How do I put this? If the information was publicly accessible without having to have an account, and I really don't like paywalled information, put ads on the site. That's what your newspaper essentially was. And do it right. Build a superior product, and those who find it of value will pay for it. Or arrive to deal with your ads. If OpenAI could access the material, then it's just like everybody else. They can just look at it. And if I had an eidetic memory, then you wouldn't know that I've consumed your information. And all information impacts whoever it is that consumes the information. It may happen subconsciously, it may happen consciously, but the information is still changing my day, at least, hour, minute, second. It's impacting me. OpenAI reviewing website data across the world of all shapes and sizes and whatever. I just have a hard time with it being coined as being, copyright infringement or whatever, or that it's training data. Training data is what? Apparently it's training data for me too. I should be paying some inordinate amount of data. And here's how much this costs. The fire hose, I guess, for Reddit is $60 million a year or something like that. I guess that's for all of its data. $60 million. Am I reading that right? I think. I'll have to look again, but Reddit just started supplying data. So that's where they're making a whole chunk of money. In response to the New York Times lawsuit against OpenAI, the artificial intelligence company is clapping back, saying, I hate that phrase, clapping back, saying in a new federal court filing that the Times hired someone to hack OpenAI platforms. The truth, which will come out in the course of this case, is that the Times paid someone to hack OpenAI's products. I don't know if this was a wordsmith kind of a hack or a security breach, but in the new court filing, OpenAI is asking the judge to in charge of the overarching case to dismiss in full or part 4 of the 6 counts the Times leveled against OpenAI in the lawsuit, at least diminishing its power and the ability to use those charges. For example, the Times alleged that it's in its original complaint that OpenAI's GPT-4 spat out near verbatim copies of Times articles when prompted. But OpenAI's attorneys wrote on Monday's motion that the way the Times got the AI platform to show seemingly plagiarized responses was not in line with its own famously rigorous journalistic standards. Not only did the Times pay someone to hack OpenAI's products, the filing alleges, but it also gamed the system to produce misleading evidence for the case. So it says it took them tens of thousands of attempts to generate the highly anomalous results outlined in the Times complaint. So I really want to know how it was done and exactly what the evidence really was on the back end. So keep that in mind when you're feeding information into an OpenAI system. It's not just yours. There's somebody else looking at that stuff. Did I put that in there? Yeah. Okay. So, just to make sure, Grace Eliza Goodwin is the author of this article over at Business Insider. And yeah, you're going to find out just what went down. I'm sure that there are people paying very close attention to this that are going to do some type of breakdown or debrief regarding what happened in the court. It says, and even then they had to feed the tool portions of the very articles they sought to elicit verbatim passages of, virtually all of which already appear on multiple public websites. Exactly. That's just how information is. It gets exchanged. People talk about it. Yeah, and I certainly do. I talk about it all the time. And I actually, when I'm talking about it, not only do I give credit where credit is due, but sometimes you'll find out that there are things that are tied to other, like links within links or references within references. The New York Times writes about something, and then Business Insider references the New York Times, and then some other company writes about it, but they learned about it from Business Insider, so they mention Business Insider. And then somewhere else in the article, they mention the New York Times as well. But there's all this content that people have publicly posted. And the intent is to consume it, and you pay attention to the ads around it. I mean, it's not like you sit there and follow a bus so that you can read the ads, but you end up looking at the subconsciously even absorbing the content from the sides of buses. That's what advertising is. If it ever motivates somebody to actually click on the ad, I'd be surprised. I think it's an accident that people do it. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Wearable sticker turns hand movements into communication. I think this is going to be interesting. I'm going to go straight on over to the source. Tech Explorer is the source, and it's written by Optica, which is probably the maker of this. But if that is the sticker, man, okay, wait. I know what this thing is, because I was actually going to get some of these for an experiment. But so the article again is over at techexplore.com by Optica, and the title of it is Wearable Sticker Turns Hand Movements into Communication. So I think this is the wearable sticker, this white thing, not this big old block. This is a gyroscope. So the new sensor combines a soft and flexible material called polydimethyl siloxane, or PDMS, thank you for giving it an acronym, with an optical component known as a fiber Bragg grating. The researchers designed it to be comfortable for long-term wear while having the ability to detect movement with high accuracy. And the paper is published in the journal Biomedical Optics Express. That's interesting. So for someone recovering from a stroke, these sensors could monitor wrist, finger, or even facial movements to monitor their rehab. For individuals with severe mobility or speech impairment, the sensors could translate gestures or facial expressions into words or commands, enabling them to communicate with others or interact with technology more easily. Yeah, you could essentially translate minuscule movements or micro movements into something that can be translated into speech or gesture, or writing or anything really. It's kind of an external version of a Neuralink, if Neuralink actually stands up to what it is proposing to be. So it's pretty cool. As you move, it detects the change in the sensor. And I don't know how many degrees of freedom it's talking about. Here it intimates that there's going to be at least 3, roll, pitch, and yaw, but I don't know. Let's see here. So the real magic comes from the combination of PDMS and FBGs. We found that using a thicker PDMS patch caused a more pronounced wavelength shift. Leveraging that sensitivity enhancing effect with PDMS allows these optical sensors to detect even the slightest bend of a wrist or twist of a wrist. Bend of a finger or twist of a wrist, sorry. So yeah, maybe it's just those 3 degrees. This will allow users to interact with technology and help caregivers or medical professionals monitor progress or data in real time. Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, more of these would allow, and if you can use these really fine connective wires, I think these are actual wires, that would be really interesting. There's a video that you can use. You can click on the video when you go over there. Go and check out techexplore.com. Let's keep going though. Come on. Here we go. The next article's over in the continuity report, how to read the Dune books in order. So the second half of Dune is coming out this week, I think it is. Frank Herbert published Dune more than 50 years before Timothée Chalamet starred as Paul Atreides in Denis Villeneuve's popular Dune series. Series is hard. And several more books set in the sci-fi dystopian world followed the first novel in the years since. David Lynch directed the first movie adaptation of Herbert's book, which was released in 1984 and was a critical and commercial failure. I loved it. However, almost 40 years later, Villeneuve attempted to revive the on-screen franchise with a 2-part epic sci-fi series and was substantially more successful than Lynch. But that's because a massive budget and huge scale and upgraded graphics, special effects. And the story was even more enhanced, truer to Dune than the original movie, the 1984 movie. But let's see. It says here how to read the Dune books in order. So Sarah Little over at Screen Rant put the article together, and it says that the deck statement says Denis Villeneuve's Dune film based on Frank Herbert's 1965 novel of the same name, but plenty of other books followed the first. And yeah, there's 23 books in the Dune Chronicles, with Frank Herbert contributing 6, and his son took his notes and amplified everything. Reading the Dune books chronologically offers the best experience due to the series' complex timeline. So I'm going to rifle through these really quick. I don't know what all is going to be involved in this. I don't think there's going to be 23. There is 23. So these are the books. Let me see if they say how to read them in chronological order. Okay, there you go. So yeah, this is actually pretty interesting. So the books are up here in the order that they were released, right? And I've read a few of these. The House Atreides, House Harkonnen, House Carino books are awesome. The ones that are like really weird are Children of Dune, God Emperor of Dune. But I haven't read all of them, but I certainly will be picking them up and starting the process of reading them. I read the Butlerian Jihad. I read the Machine Crusade. These you should read in their order. They give all of the backstory before you even get to Dune. Because I don't know how to describe it other than there is a huge amount of world building that took place after Dune was created and after Frank Herbert passed away. Brian Herbert picked it up and ran with it with Anderson. And I think that you'll really dig this. At the very end is Sandworms of Dune. You really should check it out. So they talk about which of the books you should absolutely read. I think you should read Dune. That's the only one really I think that they probably say you should absolutely read. Some can consume more than 50 novels a year, so reading all 23 books is a tall order for the average person. So it wouldn't be surprising if someone wanted only to read the important Dune books. The best place to start would be with Frank Herbert's 6 contributions to the series, but I don't know. I think Dune itself, the book Dune itself, would be the perfect place to start. But if you want to know all of the backstory about how it got there, you should probably read the House books, House Atreides, House Harkonnen, House Carino, and the Butlerian Jihad. That actually sets the trend for all of this. And I don't want to get into it. I don't want to spoil it. There is a lot of world building here, how they got here, how Dune came into existence, and why everybody is why it's such an odd assortment of what seems like high-end futuristic steampunk and technology that is light years ahead of what you can imagine, only to fall back into sticks and knives made out of a tooth from a worm on Dune itself, or in the book Dune. It's just amazing. So go and check this out. It's over at Screen Rant, but I'm gonna post the link through ohmTown. You can read the little snippet. If that doesn't tease you into following the link over to the source, I don't know what would. I'd love to have a big group of people watch at the same time, but obviously they don't make it easy for us to all watch a movie at the same time. That's for damn sure. Not as a community here in ohmTown, but it is what it is. Let's keep trucking. We have 2 more articles to go through. The next article is over in Smack Talk. iPhone 16 Pro fidget spinner camera bump rumor is bogus. This is kind of the no shit news kind of thing. A rumor claiming that Apple is changing the iPhone 16 Pro camera bump from a square to a triangle makes no sense and has no backup from any other rumor source. It's an Apple Insider article, by the way, and they talk about this being like a little triangle or some other oddball thing. Malcolm Owen over at appleinsider.com put the article together. And I said, well, I guess if it's not going to be an actual fidget spinner, I'm not going to buy the iPhone 16, because what really use is the iPhone 16 if not a fidget spinner? Why would they do anything like this? I don't know. This is so weird why they would do this. So the bump on the back of the iPhone has been square for quite a few years, with its thickness providing enough space to squeeze the complex camera systems into that little socket. While Apple could always change the design of the bump, and they always do between iterations, just enough that makes it require a new case. Something always changes. Anyway, serial leaker, which in any other context would be a negative, Majin Buu, I guess, offered a similar post on Twitter on February 17th and February 24th. 7 days apart, so it seems like it might have been programmatic. I don't know. It seems weird. With each depicting an iPhone with a completely different camera bump. To me, that looks more like a render that took a week to do because they were learning how to do 3D modeling. And this actually looks hand drawn. I don't, whatever. It's all weird. The second post offered pretty much the same sort of rumor, albeit with an appearance that was more of a rounded triangle than a fidget spinner. The leaker adds the module's shape is claimed could allow more cameras to be added in the future. No, this is a sensor array and cameras, not just cameras. No. Yeah. And I agree. It is B hashtag $ ampersand right or left parent star IT period. Malcolm Owen. There you go. Anyway, I'm going to go on to the very next and our last article. And this is over in ohmTown Daily. And it is about the new Honda CR-V, because it's going to be hydrogen and battery powered. The 2025 Honda CR-V EF-CEV is a revolutionary product that allows drivers to use hydrogen or battery electric power to operate the vehicle. And this might be like the go-to because these hybrid electric vehicles allow you to go to a location, charge up with hydrogen, use the battery, and use the hydrogen to charge the battery, and you drive on the battery. So Honda's new take on the CR-V will be the country's third fuel cell electric vehicle for passengers on the market. Joining Hyundai Nexo SUV and Toyota Mirai sedan, the automaker sees hydrogen as being an alternative fuels pathway forward. That is a hard sentence to say like that. Extending the range, zero-emission vehicles can travel without needing to stop for a charge and minimizing battery size. So you'll always have to stop and fill it. That's basically it. And the way that I see it is the only way that pure electric vehicles are going to persist in the next few years. Pure battery electric vehicles are going to start suffering from a dramatic increase in the number of failures of the batteries as they reach their terminal charging life. They can't be recharged again forever and ever. They have to be dismantled, remanufactured, and then put back into service. It doesn't run forever. But there's a lot of these batteries that are the sled of a Tesla, and you have to get them out. It's somewhere around $7,000 to $10,000. It's going to increase in price as lithium costs and the metals that are needed, the more exotic materials within a battery are ever increasing in cost and coming from hostile nations. And not to mention all of the human capital that's being spent. People are losing their lives in open pit mining and stuff. Just horrendous workplace conditions. So a hydrogen fuel cell system means that you wouldn't have as much, because the battery would still need to be made. The new SUV uses a next generation Honda fuel cell module. The Japanese automaker previously sold the Honda FCX and Clarity fuel cell FCEVs in America. This new fuel cell system has had its cost reduced by 2/3 compared to the cost of the system in the Clarity. So it's going to deliver 174 horsepower and 229 pound-feet of torque, giving it a little less horsepower than the traditional CR-V maxes out at, but far more torque. That's because electric motors versus internal combustion engines, they can essentially be immediately on. They don't have to spin up a torque converter, or they don't necessarily have to deal with a transmission the same way. They can just turn on and off you go. So let's see. You'll be able to drive in 4 modes: normal, sport, snow, and eco. Yeah, the one the one little blip on this is the battery is so small, you'll only be able to get a range of about 29 miles. So the other issue is not everybody is near a hydrogen charging system. So if you're somewhere that doesn't take place, then you're kind of SOL. Yeah, I won't really go into too much of this, but the CRV seems like it's getting, this particular one looks bigger and roomier than any CRV I've seen. It looks more like a Nissan Juke, or more like an SUV. Like a CRV to me hasn't looked like a full-on SUV, but it definitely looks like an SUV here. CRV seems smaller to me, the ones that I've seen. Interesting. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Buyers get a Honda power supply connector with their vehicle. The connector operates like a 110 volt household outlet, which means that it's gonna suck charging. And I don't mean it's just gonna suck juice into that battery. It's just gonna be horrible. They always, 110 volts take forever to charge a battery. 2025 Honda CRV F, it's called the E:FCEV, made in Marysville, Ohio, will be available to lease in California beginning later this year. Pricing will be announced closer to the model's on sale date. So the writer for this, it's over at Newsweek. I guess I failed to say the name. Eileen Falkenberg Hull is the author. And again, that's the last article for today. It's over at newsweek.com. Okay, so we always get back into the party bus and I drive us all the way back down Main Street. And I would sit there and click on something, but I really don't know what's going to happen. Forget it. I had one of my articles, or one of my episodes blocked. So it's very frustrating because I don't talk politics, but even a mere line of text that mentions a certain political party, and it's not everything apparently, it's only certain political parties, or certain political parties and their members, and then I get booted. So it's very, very frustrating because I don't even like talking about politics in the shows. Anyway, that's it for today. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and we are done for today. We'll see you tomorrow at the same bat time, same bat channel. Oh, I can't say that. I'm going to get struck for copyright. And next thing you know, by the way, Demolition Man was a documentary, and Taco Bell wins the fast food wars. I've said too much.